All right, guys, so we have some news that broke last night that I wanted to share with you. YouTube CEO Susan Wojcicki, is that how you say her name? I never know. Wojcicki?
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 Yeah.
If it's Wojcicki, then it's weird because it's not like phonetic. You know what I mean?
I don't think so. I think that's phonetic.
It says Wojcicki,
Okay.
but I think you're right that it's
You're
pronounced Wojcicki.
I don't really know.
Anyway, so she has stepped down as CEO of YouTube, and she's being replaced by a guy named Neil Mohan. They describe him as like one of her top lieutenants. I want to give you some information, and then we could talk about, is this good? Is this bad? Is this neutral? Do we not know?
Right.
So this guy has a background in advertising. He's overseen YouTube's battle with TikTok. So like, I guess he was one of the minds behind YouTube Shorts.
We finally had one of those do well, actually.
Really? Well, that's the thing I was going to say is like, usually when YouTube or any company tries to compete with somebody that's doing something original, that never really works out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like they're just trying to play catch up because they feel like that company's getting too much market share.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, basically every platform now is just trying to be TikTok. Yeah.
And then there's going to be some other hot stuff that comes along eventually, and they'll try to be that. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm not too hot on that. He also played a role in a lot of the big changes YouTube made, like, for example, YouTube TV, YouTube Music, and YouTube Premium.
Okay.
Of those three things, I like YouTube Premium. I don't like YouTube TV or YouTube Music. YouTube TV, I could see how some people like it. But the thing that annoyed me about it is that it just showed a shift away from caring about the original creators. It's like a shift away from actual YouTube. It's supposed to be about you. It's supposed to be out of some regular schmuck in his basement doing it. And they were like, no, let's just get like all the people you're escaping from cable news. Let's just throw them up on TV in front of you. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. True.
So those were some pretty big changes that he was behind. Now, here's the part that's maybe a little bit of a red flag to me, although I'm not 100% sure yet. They say in Fast Company, he's been working to address extremist content on the platform. Last September, Mohan both testified before Congress and attended a White House summit where he unveiled a new content moderation policy at YouTube, targeting violent extremist content on the site, an extension of existing policies that focus on groups like ISIS. The new policy prohibited content that glorified or attempted to recruit or fundraise for extremist groups, even when the content itself wasn't affiliated with a designated terrorist organization. YouTube, at the same time, began a media literacy campaign to help viewers, especially younger ones, identify manipulation tactics used to spread misinformation. All right, so if they're talking about like, hey, this guy went after like literal ISIS beheadings or whatever on YouTube, then it's like, okay, you know, nobody's gonna be upset about that. They're gonna be like, I get it, you know, you're taking down like literal neo-Nazi violence videos. It's like, yeah, got it. But like, was he maybe potentially behind some of the changes that came out not too long ago around the same time frame where they separated out authoritative news from borderline content, thereby sort of screwing alternative media? I don't know. But if he was involved in some way with quote unquote quote working to address extremist content, my guess is he probably was involved.
Any of
with
these
that
like
stuff.
misinformation people are usually terrible.
Right. And so that's what I'm concerned about. Now, Susan was not good, right? The changes that hurt, you know, our lane came into effect under her. But I don't know if she spearheaded it or just casually went along with it. I don't know if this guy's going to take the ball and run further.
Right.
So it's a little bit, I don't know what to expect.
I also don't know how much of it comes from them and how much of it comes from their next level up bosses at Google could be driving the train too.
That's a good question.
I just genuinely don't know. And then, I mean, if you had to bet, a lot of these content moderation policies on YouTube, I mean, you see it now on like the limits of free speech on Twitter as well. It's all driven by what advertisers are ultimately comfortable with.
Right.
And that's not going to change based on who the CEO is. So if I had to guess, I'd say it's more likely to be a neutral. I also wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these decisions were being driven from the next level up at Google versus by the CEO of YouTube. But I mean, I don't think there's anything we can say, but we'll have to wait and see. The other question I have is, why is Susan leaving? Because that might also give a clue as to whether, you know, if she was leaving for a reason that had to do with any of these issues, like they weren't happy with her on X or Y or Z issue related to misinformation or extremist content or whatever, that could also signal that they're moving in a more aggressive fashion to crack down on independent creators, basically. So that would be the other question I have. Is she just leaving because she's done her time, she wants to move on, et cetera, or for something totally unrelated to this, or does it directly have to do with their misinformation policy?
What do you mean? Are you saying you think she might be leaving because the misinformation policy was not strict enough or too strict? What are you saying?
Well, it could be either. I mean, most likely it would be they weren't happy that she wasn't doing enough to quote unquote crack down. So if they're pushing for someone who's going to be more aggressive in that direction, obviously that'd be bad for us.
Well, she did release a statement. I'm not sure how much she goes into.
I mean, that statement's not going to be honest.
Yeah, it's very, I'm reading it now.
Thank
It's
you for
very
everybody.
banal.
It's help and it's been great and it's amazing and I'm moving on to my next adventure, blah, blah, blah.
But I mean, I guess all I would counter that with is there could be any of like 1,000 reasons why
absolutely.
She's leaving. I don't 100%.
know. So if she's leaving for a reason unrelated to any of this, then you would probably bet on this person basically preserving whatever the status quo is.
Well, and you know what? With Elon taking over Twitter, that kind of makes me feel like anybody who just maintains the status quo is probably going to be better than if you start making big changes. And that's, you know, when it comes to business stuff like this, I'm actually very conservative because people who just like mess with some product that got phenomenally popular to begin with, it's like you could easily take away the magic that made this thing good in the first place.
Right.
Because people tend to overestimate their own abilities and they think whatever change I make will be amazing, bro. Right. And then they make it and everybody's like, boo, boo, boo. So.
Yeah. Well, I will say, I mean, I think any ad revenue based business, which YouTube is, has been struggling right now. So, you know, I don't know specifically about their financials, but it wouldn't surprise me if their financials aren't great. And I mean, we see it reflected in like the amount per ad, dollar amount that we get. So they clearly, like, their ad revenue is not doing all that well. So that could also have something to do with the change.
That's true. All right, guys, with a new YouTube CEO in place, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Try to protect this little thing we got going on here because we're lucky, you know. I always say at any given moment they just pull the rug out from underneath you. They did it in 2017 with Adpocalypse. You never know what can happen going forward. But look, maybe slightly optimistic note to end on. There's a chance he could be better.
That's true.
We just don't know.
You never know.
We just don't know.
I saw something that he's like into like NFTs and Web3 and like super into crypto and stuff. And I mean, I'm not on board with that, but if he's into some more like fringe ideas, maybe he's just like in general more tolerant of people who have a different than a mainstream idea. Well, that was my like way of spinning that into a positive.
Well, yeah, that could cut either way.
Yeah.
Right? Like if he's into crypto and all this weird fringe stuff, he might randomly have a soft spot for alternative media.
Right.
But it could also be if he's into crypto and NFT stuff, it's like he's a con man. Like it could go either way, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I don't know the real source for this.
Or it could be irrelevant, yeah.
I mean, it's just a random tweet of somebody who said, oh, he's into NFT stuff. I don't know if it's actually accurate, but I guess we'll find out very soon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You might start rolling out those changes where it's like, you know, pay a creator in crypto and one day somebody pays you, it's worth like $500. The next day you owe them $500. All right, guys, we'll talk to you soon.